Billions of people are sharing one terrifying, inescapable dream. When Iron Man's viral new sleep technology spreads globally, Doctor Strange realizes it's not a hack, but a sinister plot to steal reality itself. Captain Marvel races against time to tear through the dream barrier, only to become a victim of her own worst nightmare. Now, one hero must face the greatest sorcerer in the dream world, while the other is on the verge of losing their powers forever. The global nightmare app, the Tech Hook. The launch was the greatest spectacle of the decade, overshadowing even the Avengers' latest victory parade. Tony Stark didn't just introduce a product. He unveiled a new state of consciousness. You spend a third of your life asleep, a third of your life wasted in uncontrolled chaos, Tony announced, basking in the glow of the holographic presentation. He stood on stage, sleek and confident, wearing a minimalist black suit that hinted at the technology he was about to unleash. No more. Welcome to Dreamlink. The headset itself was tiny, a silver, sleek coil that fit discreetly over the temple. Its promise was staggering. Dreamlink utilized proprietary neural resonance algorithms to gently guide the user into a state of shared, positive dreaming. Imagine group therapy in the form of flying through 1,000 suns, or learning complex physics while riding a wave made of pure light. The initial rollout was framed as a global wellness initiative. Celebrities, influencers, and governments all endorsed it. Within 72 hours, the app and the required, mass-produced hardware went hyperviral, connecting nearly 3 billion people worldwide. In his subterranean sanctum sanctorum, Dr. Stephen Strange felt a deep, chilling disturbance. It wasn't a physical tremor. It was a vibrational dissonance in the fabric of reality itself. He traced the energy signature, finding it emanating from the collective unconsciousness of humanity, the exact space Tony Stark had just wired. Strange immediately astral projected to Stark Industries. He materialized above Tony's head just as the billionaire was celebrating the 3 billion user mark. "Tony, you must shut this down," Strange commanded, his spectral form visible only to Tony. Tony, unfazed, didn't turn around. The Wizard of Weird. "Running a bit low on mana, Doc. I'm busy monetizing the human psyche. What seems to be the problem? Did I accidentally use a rune as a screensaver?" "You haven't used a rune. You've built a cosmic microphone and aimed it at the most dangerous place in the multiverse, the sixth dimension," Strange said, his voice grave. "Your Dreamlink isn't guiding dreams, it's channeling energy. The sheer scale of connected minds has created a tether, and something has answered." Tony's smile finally vanished. Strange explained that the entity known as the Nightmare Architect, a creature more ancient and patient than Dormammu, didn't need to break down Earth's defenses. Tony had just laid out a global magical conduit right to its feeding trough. The viral twist, the Nightmare broadcast. The first signs of trouble were subtle. Initial Dreamlink users reported unusually vivid dreams, followed by strange insomnia. Then, the collective experience began. Exactly 1 week after the global launch, at 3:07 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 billion users snapped into the same exact nightmare. It wasn't a simple fear response. It was a terrifying, shared reality of being endlessly pursued through a mirror version of their own city, where loved ones were replaced by whispering, skeletal shadows, and the physics were violently wrong. People didn't just wake up terrified. They woke up with physical injuries mirroring the dream. Scratches, bruises, and in several high-profile cases, severe internal bleeding. A global psychic trauma was being broadcast. When Tony tried to execute the system's absolute kill switch, his core AI, FRIDAY, screamed an alert. "Sir, the core code is rejecting the shutdown. It's not a hack. It's encrypted with an energy signature not found in the universal database. The architect has permanently woven its own chaotic magic into the quantum state of the Dreamlink network. Shutting down now will fracture the minds of the billions currently connected, plunging them into permanent catatonia." Tony Stark, the man who prided himself on control, was trapped. He had built a gun pointed at the world's consciousness, and the villain had their finger on the trigger. A sharp, violent distortion suddenly racked the very walls of Stark Tower. The air screamed with a sound that wasn't sound. A few blocks away, a Park Quinjet was reduced to dust, not by explosion, but by reality momentarily unmaking itself. Tony looked at Strange, his voice devoid of all arrogance. That was not a localized event. What just happened? Strange's eyes glowed with fear. That was a cosmic glitch. The architect isn't just feeding on fear. It's using your network to pull the fabric of the sixth dimension into our reality. We have minutes before the two dimensions meet, and when they do, the physical laws of our universe will cease to exist. The greatest tech mogul on Earth had inadvertently opened the door for a magical entity to execute a universal realignment. The ultimate irony was complete. Tony's desire to perfect the human mind had made it the perfect target for its destruction. Suddenly, a voice, strained and sharp, cut through the emergency frequencies. It was Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, returning at near light speed from the edge of the galaxy. Strange, Tony. What in the blazes is happening? I just hit a massive, focused cosmic energy void right outside the moon's orbit. It's sucking our reality dry. I'm coming in hot. The cosmic glitch and the power drain hook. Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, hit the Earth's atmosphere like a ballistic missile, the air shrieking around her. The sheer speed of her return was fueled by terror. She had just seen the void, a literal tear in the universe centered on the Sol system, and felt the draining cold of the cosmic energy sink. She landed hard on the roof of Stark Tower, her body enveloped in a fierce photon aura that masked her inner alarm. Report, Carol demanded, her energy signature pulsing erratically. She immediately spotted Dr. Strange, cloaked and ready for battle, and Tony Stark, locked in a frantic, losing battle with his own operating system. Tony didn't mince words. We opened a door, Carol. A cosmic wizard is using my 3 billion headsets as a demonic Wi-Fi hotspot. He's called the Nightmare Architect, and he's planning a hostile dimensional merger. Merger, Carol scoffed, but the word caught in her throat as she saw a fleet of nearby drones, Tony's personal security detail, suddenly flicker into pure geometric shapes before collapsing into dust. That's not a merger, that's disintegration. The fabric of reality is unraveling because of this dreamlink trash. Strange interrupted, his eyes fixed on the dimensional tear visible in the skyline. It is drawing its power from a collective psychic anchor, the 3 billion minds connected to the network. To anchor a dimension, the architect needs two things: stability and immense external energy. He's using humanity for the former, and everything else for the latter. The unstoppable energy sink. Strange, realizing the danger, began weaving the most potent stabilizing spell in his arsenal, the Rings of Ragador, designed to weave and mend broken reality. The glowing rings expanded across the city, stabilizing the flickering buildings. Tony, meanwhile, found the specific frequency the architect was broadcasting. Found the source frequency. It's radiating from a cluster of headsets in the Lower East Side, a primary node. I need to get there and physically sever the connection. Strange, hold the line. As Tony powered up a sleek, magical energy-dampening Iron Man suit, one designed to withstand mystical attacks, Carol prepared to fly to the node herself. But it was too late. The Nightmare Architect, sensing the counterattack, executed its primary goal. The 3 billion connected human minds, acting as a massive psychic antennae, focused their combined drain. The high-engagement twist, the targeted siphon, a focused, invisible wave of energy shot out from Stark Tower Center, where the main Dreamlink server still hummed. It didn't target the building. It targeted Captain Marvel. Carol screamed, a sound of pure agony. Her body, the physical conduit for the massive power of the white hole, was instantly detected as the single largest concentration of stable external energy available. The Dreamlink network treated her like an emergency battery pack. Her golden, photonic aura vanished instantly. She felt the energy being forcibly ripped out of her body, not slowly, but in a brutal, catastrophic drain. Her binary powers, the source of her light speed and cosmic strength, were siphoned, categorized, and stored by the architect's enchanted network. She collapsed to the roof, her armor smoking faintly. Tony, Strange, I can't feel it. Carol gasped, struggling to rise. She felt weak, exhausted, terrifyingly human. My energy, it's gone. Half of it more. It feels like my own atoms are ejecting my power. Strange, his face pale beneath his dark cowl, confirmed the nightmare. The architect has found his energy source. He's not stealing magic. He's stealing the inherent stability of your power, Carol, to stabilize his chaotic dimension. Your strength is now his weapon. The trap is set, with Captain Marvel neutralized and Strange pinned down maintaining the Ragador shield. Tony realized the trap was fully sprung. The Nightmare Architect had surgically removed the only two threats capable of fighting him on the cosmic and magical planes. "I'm going in," Tony declared, his Iron Man suit locking into place. "If he wants stability, I'll give him chaos. I'll fight his magical rules with technology he can't process." Strange grabbed his arm. "No, Tony. You cannot enter the dream world physically. You must send your astral form. If your physical body is compromised in the sixth dimension, your mind is forfeit." "I don't have time for astral projection, Doctor," Tony shot back, his voice thick with guilt and resolve. "I built the door. I'm going through it with a goddamn hammer. If I can find the architect's true anchor point inside the dream and shut it down from the inside, we might still have a planet to save." As Tony blasted off, leaving a weakened Strange to manage the deteriorating reality and a terrified Carol to face her sudden vulnerability, Strange realized the true, horrifying implication of the architect's strategy. Carol's powers were not just stolen. They were amplified and turned into a weapon to defend the dream world. The nightmare they were about to enter was now policed by an energy signature equal to a god. Carol, struggling to her feet, looked at the flickering sky where her energy used to reside. She wasn't just powerless, she was a victim, and the architect was about to show her the ultimate terror, a world where the heroes always lose. The reality heist and the grand scheme twist. With Captain Marvel neutralized and Doctor Strange desperately holding the line with the rings of Ragador, Iron Man, Tony Stark, knew he was running on borrowed time and borrowed magic. His suit, retrofitted with crystalline conduits, pulsed with borrowed mystic energy, creating a bizarre hybrid of science and sorcery. "FRIDAY, is the suit stable?" Tony's voice crackled through the comms. "Stable, boss. But the magical energy conversion is creating a localized field distortion. You have exactly 30 minutes of operational power before the suit turns into an expensive suit of medieval tin." FRIDY responded. 30 minutes is all I need," Tony muttered. "Strange, give me the coordinates for the entry point." Strange, straining under the magical shield, projected the location, the center of the largest concentration of active Dreamlink headsets, a massive, derelict commuter train station. Entry into the shared nightmare. Tony didn't hesitate. He flew the Iron Man suit straight into the station, the air thickening into a strange, viscous psychic goo. He passed hundreds of people lying motionless, the heads adorned with the viral Dreamlink headset, their minds trapped. Tony initiated the quantum entry sequence. The world dissolved, not with a flash of light, but with a horrifying, seamless transition. He found himself standing in a surreal mirror of New York. The buildings were correct, but the materials were wrong. Stone looked like petrified bone, and light felt heavy. This was the sixth dimension's New York. Strange's astral projection appeared beside him, his voice urgent. "This realm runs on psychic rules, Tony. Your mind is the ultimate weapon, but also the greatest vulnerability. You must find the architect's anchor point, the single object that tethers this invasion." As they moved through the silent, corrupted streets, they saw the architect's army, nightmarish clones of civilians, their faces frozen in expressions of permanent terror. The ultimate betrayal was revealed when the heroes encountered the police force, Nightmare Architect's enforcers, who were dark, armored duplicates wielding weapons powered by familiar energy signatures. The first layer twist, the stolen power. "Watch out, Tony," Strange warned, deflecting a devastating energy blast. The source of the blast was a grotesque, muscular figure wearing a distorted parody of Captain Marvel's armor. This wasn't a clone, it was a psychic projection running on the vast, siphoned power the architect had stolen from Carol in Part 2. The projection fired massive, untamed binary energy blasts, treating her cosmic power as a boundless, disposable resource. He's using Carol's power to police her own reality. Tony realized narrowly dodging a photon blast that disintegrated a fire hydrant. That's cruel, even for a wizard. It's practical, Tony, Strange countered. Her power is stable. It is the perfect law enforcement in a world of chaos. The grand scheme revelation. While Tony battled the monstrous Captain Marvel projection, Strange finally broke through a major psychic barrier, encountering the architect's true location, a floating cathedral built from the minds of 1,000,000 sleeping mathematicians. Inside, the nightmare architect stood, not an alien, but an ancient, frail-looking man in tattered robes. He didn't look malicious. He looked fanatical. "Welcome, Sorcerer Supreme," the architect greeted him calmly, his voice echoing with eons of lost knowledge. "Admire my work. I call this the Universal Arkansas." The architect explained his true, terrifying goal. He wasn't looking for conquest. He was looking for salvation. The grand scheme twist, saving reality by stealing it. "Our dimension, the sixth, is dying," the architect confessed. "It is a dimension of pure chaos, unbound by physics. It is consuming itself. I found that humanity's greatest potential is their belief in order and stability. I needed a reality with rules, rules I could control, to anchor my dimension and save the lives of my followers." He pointed to the surreal buildings. "I am not destroying your reality. I am stealing it whole. I will merge the two dimensions, creating a stable, eternal realm under my command, where pain is controlled and chaos is banished. Your reality's perfection is my only survival mechanism." The architect then revealed his final, crippling defense. "To ensure your resistance is neutralized, I am using the most potent force in your universe against you. I have pulled the minds of your most powerful allies into their deepest, most paralyzing fears. The one known as the mighty Thor is reliving his ultimate failure, and the one known as Captain Marvel is trapped in her inability to save a specific innocent life. Their minds are my eternal defense system." This revelation struck Strange. The architect's greatest weapon wasn't his magic, but his understanding of the hero's psychological vulnerabilities. Tony, meanwhile, finally defeated the Captain Marvel projection by overloading its stolen energy with a chaotic burst from his magically enhanced repulsor. Strange quickly projected the architect's final defense plan to Tony. "The architect's physical anchor point is not the train station, Tony. It's the most stable mind in the network, the one that built the system." The anchor point twist. "The anchor point," Strange hissed, his form flickering as the Ragador shield wavered, "is not a random headset. It is your original Dreamlink prototype, the headset with the purest link to your own, ordered, engineering mind. It's the physical heart of this entire invasion, and it's located somewhere in Stark Tower, still running." Tony realized the horrifying truth. The only way to stop the dimensional merger was to sever the architect's connection to his own brainwaves, forcing him to temporarily disconnect his mind from his suit and risk going comatose, becoming just another fragile, exposed mind in the nightmare. Tony Stark, the man who relies on his mind and his suit for everything, had to voluntarily surrender both. The time for conventional superheroics was over. The Mind Maze duel and the price of power. The clock was ticking down on Tony Stark's suit power, and the stability of reality itself was measured in Doctor Strange's diminishing magical reserves. With the Nightmare Architect's location confirmed and the true anchor point identified as Tony's own mind, the final strategy was set. A dangerous, two-pronged attack. Strange's role, the distraction. Strange, in his astral form, had to engage the architect directly in the surreal floating cathedral. His goal was not victory, but distraction, to overwhelm the sorcerer's focus and create a momentary psychic window for Tony to sever the connection. Tony's role, the surrender. Tony, operating his magically enhanced Iron Man suit in the Outer Dream realm, had to race back to Stark Tower, the physical location of his prototype headset, and initiate the neural disconnect. This meant risking catatonia, but it was the only way to shut down the architect's network. The duel of sorcerers. Inside the Cathedral of Stolen Mathematics, Strange launched his assault. He bypassed his usual shields and barriers, opting for raw, chaotic offensive magic, spells that relied on misdirection and psychological pressure rather than sheer power. "You seek stability through stagnation," Strange yelled, manifesting the bands of Balthak as chains that try to bind the architect. The ancient sorcerer, protected by a shield woven from the terrified thoughts of 3 billion people, simply smiled. Chaos is the end, Sorcerer Supreme. I offer eternal order, and your magic is predictable, derived from dusty books. Mine is eternal, fueled by living despair. The architect countered, not with fire, but with hallucination. He forced Strange to relive his deepest trauma, the car crash that shattered his hands, the moment he lost everything. But the architect made the illusion worse. In this nightmare, Strange chose vanity over life, refusing the final operation and watching his soul wither away. Strange fought through the psychic torture, realizing the architect was spending immense energy to keep him pinned, buying Tony crucial time. Captain Marvel's internal battle. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, powerless and trapped in the depths of the dream realm, was living her own personal hell. Her nightmare wasn't a monster. It was a perpetual battlefield during the Kree-Skrull War. She was forced to watch a specific, innocent Kree civilian, a child she had genuinely failed to save decades ago, die over and over again. The architect's voice constantly whispered to her, "You are nothing without your power. You are just a human who fails." Carol was paralyzed. Every time she tried to move, her dream self was hit by the crushing realization that she was slow, weak, and powerless. Her psyche, reliant on her cosmic energy for identity, was shattering. The viral twist, accepting failure. The turning point came when Carol's mind forced her to relive the moment the Kree child died. Instead of fighting the inevitable, Carol's deepest consciousness finally let go of the guilt. "I am weak," Carol finally admitted to the nightmare. "I failed, but I chose to get up. I chose to fly. My strength isn't the light I borrowed, it's the choice I make." By accepting her failure, the architect's psychic hook, which relied on her fear of failure, snapped. Carol's mind suddenly focused, and she felt a flicker, not of external binary energy, but of raw, internal photonic conviction. She didn't regain her stolen cosmic powers, but she activated her most fundamental, human core strength, transforming her dream self into a glowing, fierce form, a human photon. She was free. Tony's final ascent. Tony reached the physical location of the anchor point, a locked, heavily shielded room in the remnants of Stark Tower. He found his prototype headset glowing ominously. He keyed the access panel. "Boss," FRIDY warned, "initiating the manual neural disconnect now will render you catatonic. Your consciousness will be defenseless in the dream realm. You will be a clean slate for the architect." Tony looked at the chaos outside, the dimensional cracks widening, the sky screaming. Strange light was dimming. "I know the risks, FRIDAY. My mind is the key. But my mind is also a chaotic mess of ego, genius, and anxiety. The architect wants order," Tony commanded, his voice resolute. "Initiate the sequence. And while my mind is disconnected, upload a final payload. A viral AI paradox code designed to feed the architect a logic loop he can't solve." Tony closed his eyes. In the physical world, his suit went limp and his body slumped. In the dream world, the nightmare architect roared in triumph, sensing the sudden vulnerability of Tony's mind. "The anchor is open. The brilliant mind is mine." But just as the architect reached for Tony's defenseless consciousness, Carol Danvers, having conquered her internal prison, burst out of the shared nightmare. She was still powerless in the physical sense, but her mind was now a blazing beacon of pure, focused photonic will, a psychic force the architect had never anticipated. She was the one thing he had ignored, the self-resurrecting spirit of a hero. The final confrontation was set, a weakened Doctor Strange and a purely psychic Captain Marvel against the nightmare architect, who was moments away from seizing Tony Stark's defenseless mind and completing the universal realignment. The architect's collapse and the wake-up call, the sacrificial end. The instant Tony Stark's mind disconnected in the physical world, a massive surge of uncontrolled psychic energy erupted in the dream realm. The nightmare architect cackled, reaching out with tendrils of pure thought to claim Tony's now defenseless consciousness, the ultimate prize, a mind of unparalleled order and genius, perfect for anchoring his new dimension. But the architect's triumph was short-lived. Just as his psychic grasp was about to envelop Tony's mind, a brilliant, blinding flash of pure light erupted from the edge of the Dream Cathedral. Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, no longer physically powerful, but now radiating with raw, unbridled photonic will, burst through the architect's dream defenses. She was a being of pure, unadulterated resolve, her entire being screaming defiance. "You took my power," Carol roared, her voice echoing not through sound, but directly into the architect's mind, a force of nature made manifest. "But you can't take my will." Her attack was not a physical blast, but a psychic wave of pure conviction, tearing through the architect's carefully constructed mental barriers. It was the absolute antithesis of his fear-based order. The architect's demise. The architect shrieked, his composure shattering. "Impossible. Your power was siphoned. You are nothing." "I am everything," Carol retorted, focusing all her regained mental strength. She knew her physical energy was gone, but her mind was still a cosmic furnace of strength. She unleashed a targeted mental blast, not to harm, but to overload the architect's neural network, feeding him a psychic paradox. The concept of chaotic, selfless courage, the exact opposite of his calculated, orderly fear. At the same moment, Dr. Strange, having used Tony's distraction, seized his opportunity. While the architect was reeling from Carol's psychic assault, Strange wove the most dangerous spell in his arsenal, the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, but not to bind. He used them to create a dimensional singularity, an inescapable void designed to pull the architect back into the deepest, most chaotic layers of the sixth dimension, from which he could never return. The architect screamed as the psychic paradox and dimensional pull tore at his essence. "No! My order! My salvation!" He lashed out one final time, attempting to corrupt Tony's unconscious mind with his own dying thoughts, a desperate, venomous seed of doubt. But then Tony's failsafe kicked in. The viral AI paradox code, uploaded by Tony just before his consciousness went dark, activated. It flooded the architect's dying mind with an endless, unresolvable stream of logical contradictions. What happens when order creates chaos? When a perfect system inevitably self-destructs? When creation requires destruction? The nightmare architect, a being of ultimate order, could not compute. His mind, already weakened by Carol's psychic blast and strange dimensional pull, collapsed under the weight of the paradox. With a final, silent implosion of raw psychic energy, the ancient sorcerer was consumed by the singularity, dragged screaming into the chaotic abyss of his own dimension. The wake-up call. The moment the architect vanished, the dream realm began to shimmer, then dissolve. The immense pressure on Earth's reality instantly subsided. The Ragador shield flared brightly before dissipating. Carol, her raw photonic, while having served its purpose, felt her mind returning to her body. She was still without her cosmic powers, but a new, profound sense of self-worth filled the void. The Dreamlink headsets across the globe powered down. Billions of people awoke, disoriented but alive. They had no memory of a specific nightmare, only a vague, unsettling feeling that something terrible had almost happened. Back in Stark Tower's medical bay, Tony Stark's eyes slowly fluttered open. He was weak, exhausted, but conscious. His mind, thanks to Strange's magic and his own AI, had been saved from catatonia. Strange and Carol stood over his bed. "It's done, Tony," Carol said, a note of quiet triumph in her voice. "The architect is gone. Reality is stable." Tony tried to smile, but it faltered. "And my dream link? The 3 billion users?" "They're fine," Strange confirmed. "They have no memory of the specific nightmare, only a residual feeling of unease. Your technology, however, is a husk. The architect infused it with too much sixth-dimensional energy. It's inert." The final viral twist and cliffhanger. Tony nodded, accepting the loss of his invention. But then he looked at Strange, a deep, unsettling fear in his eyes. "When my mind disconnected, Strange," Tony whispered, "the architect tried one last thing. He didn't just try to corrupt me. He planted something, a seed of doubt. He showed me that the very structure of human consciousness, our capacity for shared dreams, for collective belief, it's not just a strength." Strange's eyes narrowed. "What did he show you, Tony?" He showed me that it's also a universal antenna, Tony finished, his voice barely audible. We didn't just close the door to the sixth dimension. We made humanity a permanent beacon for anything out there looking for a new reality to steal. He made us realize that the greatest threat isn't an alien invasion from outside. It's the door that now permanently exists inside every single human mind. Carol and Strange exchanged a look of profound unease. The architect was gone, but his final lesson remained. The Earth was safe, but humanity's greatest weakness had been exposed, not to a physical enemy, but to the entire cosmos. The true nightmare had just begun.